Sharpe's Devil by Bernard Cornwell. Read by Rupert Farley. Prologue. There were 16 men and only 12 mules. None of the men was willing to abandon the journey, so tempers were edgy and not made any better by the day's oppressive and steamy heat. The 16 men were waiting by the shore, where the black basalt cliffs edged the small port, and where there was no wind to relieve the humidity. Somewhere in the hills there sounded a grumble of thunder. All but one of the 16 men were uniformed. They stood sweltering and impatient in the shade of heavily branched evergreen trees, while the 12 mules, attended by black slaves, drooped beside a briar hedge that was brilliant with small white roses. The sun, climbing towards noon, shimmered in an atmosphere that smelt of roses, pomegranates, seaweed, myrtle, and sewage. 2 warships, their square-cut sails turned dirty grey by the long usage of wind and rain, patrolled far offshore. Closer, in the anchorage itself, a large Spanish frigate lay to twin anchors. It was not a good anchorage, for the ocean's swells were scarcely vitiated by the embracing shore, nor was the water at the quayside deep enough to allow a great ship to moor alongside, and so the 16 men had come ashore in the Spanish frigate's longboats. Now they waited in the oppressive, windless heat. In one of the houses just beyond the rose-bright hedge, a baby cried. "More mules are being fetched. If you gentlemen will do us the honour of patience, and accept our sincerest apologies." The speaker, a very young, red-coated British lieutenant, whose face was running with sweat, displayed too much contrition. "We didn't expect 16 gentlemen, you understand. Only 14. Though, of course, there would still have been insufficient transport. But I have spoken with the adjutant, and he assures me that extra mules are being saddled, and we do apologise for the confusion." The lieutenant had spoken in a rush of words, but now abruptly stopped, as it dawned on him that most of the 16 travellers would not have understood a word he had spoken. The lieutenant blushed, then turned to a tall, scarred and dark-haired man who wore a faded uniform jacket of the British 95th Rifles. "Can you translate for me, sir?" "More mules are coming," the rifleman said in laconic but fluent Spanish. It had been nearly 6 years since the rifleman had last used the language regularly, yet 38 days on a Spanish ship had made him fluent again. He turned again to the lieutenant. "Why can't we walk to the house?" "It's all of 5 miles, sir, uphill and very steep." The lieutenant pointed to the hillside above the trees, where a narrow road could just be seen zigzagging perilously up the flax-covered slope. "You really are best advised to wait for the mules, sir." The tall rifle officer made a grunting noise, which the young lieutenant took for acceptance of his wise advice. "Sir?" The lieutenant, emboldened by the grunting noise, took a step closer to the rifleman. "What?" "I just wondered." The lieutenant, overwhelmed by the rifleman's scowl, stepped back. "Nothing, sir. It doesn't signify." "For God's sake, boy, speak up. I won't bite you." "It was my father, sir. He often spoke of you, and I wondered if you might recall him. He was at Salamanca, sir. Hardacre? Captain Roland Hardacre?" "No." "He died at San Sebastian." Lieutenant Hardacre added pathetically, as though that last detail might revive his father's image in the rifleman's memory. The scarred rifleman made another grunting noise that might have been translated as sympathy, but was, in fact, the inadequate sound of a man who never knew how to react properly to such revelations. So many men had died, so many widows still wept, and so many children would be forever fatherless, that the rifleman doubted there would ever be sufficient pity for all the war's doings. "I didn't know him, Lieutenant. I'm sorry." "It was truly an honour to meet you anyway, sir," Lieutenant Hardacre said.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?